At midnight, the roses were already scattered on the hallway floor. They were not in a vase, nor next to Rebecca's place at the dining room table. They were strewn across the carpet in front of the bedrooms in the west wing, crushed by their stems, with some pale petals stuck to the immaculate shoes of Ethan Wedmore. He had carried them halfway across the country for a woman who did not even know he was coming home. 3 hours earlier, Eisen was supposed to be in New York, sitting in front of bankers and lawyers, closing the most important hotel deal of his life. Instead, he had walked out of a private meeting with a heaviness he could not explain, cancelled the rest of the week, taken the first flight to Los Angeles, and told no one, not his assistant, not his driver, not Rebecca. At the Los Angeles airport, he took a regular taxi, something he had not done in years. On the way to Beverly Hills, he asked the driver to stop at a small flower shop that was still open near Sanarpadovan. He chose white and pink roses because they were the same flowers he had given Rebecca the night he proposed to her. He held them on his lap as if they were an apology. But when the taxi approached the iron gates of the Whitmore mansion, Eisen did not find a quiet house waiting for him. He saw lights on behind the tall windows, black cars lined up in the curved driveway, music floating over the hedges, low and elegant. Somewhere inside the house, glasses clinked softly and people laughed as if the night belonged to them. Eisen paid the driver and got out before reaching the gate. For a moment, he stood still with the roses in his hand. Then he circled the property to the service entrance, opened the back door with his key, and entered his own home like a man sneaking into a place he no longer recognized. He had barely taken 3 steps when Grace Miller, the housekeeper, saw him in the dark. The tray slipped from her hands, a glass broke, and before Eisen could say a word, she covered his mouth with her hand. Grace Miller's hand stayed over Eisen's mouth for only a few seconds, but it was enough for the whole house to stop feeling familiar. Her palm smelled faintly of lemon soap and silver polish, and her fingers trembled against his face. "Please, sir," she whispered, "don't make a sound." Eisen slowly raised both hands, not to push her away, but to show her he would stay still. That was not something men like him often had to do. In boardrooms, people waited for him to speak. In hotels that had his name on the glass doors, elevators stopped for him, chairs were pulled out, signatures were gathered before he arrived. But in that narrow service hallway, next to a broken glass and a tray full of empty champagne flutes, Eisen Wetmore stayed silent because his housekeeper seemed more afraid of his grief than of his anger. From the main living room, the party went on without him. Soft music, polite laughter, the small, clear sound of a fork touching porcelain. Someone downstairs said Rebecca's name, and then there was a wave of applause. Grace lowered her hand. Eisen looked past her toward the lit doorway at the end of the hall. He could see the edge of the dining room, the polished floor, the reflection of candles on the wall. His house looked staged for a photograph. He looked at the roses. A petal had bent under his thumb. "What is happening?" he asked. She shook her head once. "Not here." She crouched quickly, picked up the larger pieces of glass with the edge of her apron, and placed them on the tray, as if cleaning that mess could keep the night from splitting in two. Eisen noticed her wrists, thin, tired, marked by work, a small burn near one thumb. He had seen those hands leave coffee next to his laptop at 6 in the morning, straighten Lily's school photos on the mantel, close curtains in rooms he almost never entered. He had never wondered what those hands had decided not to throw away. Grace looked toward the ceiling. "It's Miss Lily," she said. The name hit him harder than any accusation. Eisen tightened his grip on the roses. "Is she hurt?" Grace did not answer right away. That scared him more than a yes. "She's upstairs," Grace said. "Packing." At first, the word made no sense. Packing belonged to business trips, summer programs, college visits, not to his 17-year-old daughter in the middle of the night while her mother hosted guests downstairs. Eisen turned toward the stairs. Grace grabbed his sleeve. "Not like that, sir." He looked at her hand on his jacket and then at her face. She had tears in her eyes, but she did not look weak. She looked like someone who had carried the same truth for so long that it weighed more than fear. "If you go in now," she said, "Lily won't believe you came for her." Eisen opened his mouth and then closed it. Above them, the old service stairs disappeared into shadow. The music downstairs continued, soft and clean, as if nothing inside that house had been ruined yet. Grace took a step toward the stairs. "First, you have to see what she left for you." Grace led Eisen up the service stairs without turning on the light. The steps were narrow, built for people who carried laundry baskets, trays, and silent burdens through the back of a beautiful house. Ison had lived there for 11 years but had never taken that staircase to the second floor. At the top, Grace stopped in front of Lily's room. The door was barely open, enough for a line of yellow light to fall across the hallway carpet. "Please," Grace whispered. "Don't let her see you yet." Ison looked through the crack. Lily was sitting on the floor next to her bed, barefoot, in an old Ukla sweatshirt he had bought her 2 Christmases ago. She had 2 open suitcases in front of her. One was half filled with folded clothes. The other held a few books, a framed photograph, and a small stuffed rabbit with one loose ear. Ison remembered that rabbit. He had won it for her on the Santa Monica Pier when she was 7. Lily had carried it under her arm all that summer, to breakfast, to the dentist, everywhere. Back then, Lily used to run to the front door when Ison's car came up the driveway. She would press both hands against the window and wave before he even got out. For a time, she had believed his returns were promises. Then the returns got shorter. A dinner missed because of a flight delay. A school recital watched later on a phone screen. A birthday call made from a hotel lobby in Chicago while she blew out the candles next to an empty chair. None of it had seemed cruel at the time. Every absence came with a reason. A meeting, a deal, a crisis only he could solve. Ison sent gifts, flowers, messages through assistants. He told himself Lily understood. Inside the room, Lily reached into her sweatshirt pocket and pulled out an old photograph. Ison recognized it before he saw the whole image. Santa Monica, a grey morning. Lily on his shoulders, her small hands covering his eyes while he pretended not to know where to walk. In the photo, she was laughing with her whole face. Now she held that photograph against her chest like something she was trying not to lose. On the bed, there was a sealed envelope. Grace touched Ison's sleeve and pointed. "It's for you," she whispered. "She wrote it this afternoon." Ison stepped in carefully, staying where the open closet door hid him from Lily's view. He picked up the envelope with hands that no boardroom had ever managed to make shake. "Dad, by the time you read this, I won't be in this house anymore. Please don't look for me. Please don't call anyone to bring me back. I tried for a long time to be easy to love. I got good grades, I smiled in photos, I stayed awake when you said you'd be home. I saved seats for you at concerts you never made. Mom says that's how important men live. Maybe she's right. But I can't keep living in a house where everyone can see the flowers, the cars, and the lights, but no one can see me. I loved you so much, Dad. I wish that had been enough for you to notice. Lily *. Ison lowered the letter. Across the room, his daughter slowly closed one suitcase with care, as if loud sounds no longer belonged to her. And in that silent room, while the party still glittered downstairs, Ison understood that Lily had not decided to leave in a single night. She had been leaving him in small pieces for years. Story continues with the same tone and structure through the confrontation with Rebecca and Charles, the discovery of the hidden letters, and the quiet resolution in the kitchen the next morning. Life lesson. Sometimes a family does not break in one loud moment. It breaks in missed dinners, unanswered notes, closed doors, and the quiet belief that someone will always wait. We often think betrayal comes with a cruel face, but sometimes it arrives with calm words, perfect manners, and reasons that sound practical. Ison had money, influence, and a last name people respected, but none of that helped him see the pain growing in the room next to his. What saved Lily was not wealth. It was a person who paid attention. Grace noticed the untouched tea, the hidden cards, the silence that had changed. She did not force anyone to heal. She just kept showing up until a closed door opened a fraction of an inch. True love is not proven with big speeches after the damage is done. It is proven by being present when there is nothing impressive to gain. 2. Stronger paraphrase with American names, numbers and words, no meaning change. At 12 o'clock midnight, the roses lay crushed on the hallway floor. No vas. No place setting beside Rebecca's chair at the dining table. Just scattered across the rug outside the bedrooms in the west wing. Stems snapped, pale petals plastered to the flawless leather of Ethan Whitmore's shoes. He had flown them 3,000 miles for a woman who had no idea he was coming home. 3 hours before, Isaac Whitmore was supposed to be in Manhattan, staring down bankers and attorneys, finalizing the biggest hotel acquisition of his career. Instead, he walked out of a closed-door meeting with a weight in his chest he could not name, wiped his calendar for the week, boarded the first flight to LAX, and told no one, not his executive assistant, not his driver, not Rebecca. At LAX he hailed a yellow cab, something he had not done in 10 years. Riding toward Beverly Hills, he asked the driver to stop at a tiny florist still lit up near San Pedro Street. He picked white and blush roses, exactly the kind he had handed Rebecca the night he asked her to marry him. He cradled them on his lap like a confession. But when the cab rolled up to the wrought iron gates of the Whitmore estate, Isaac did not find silence. He found every window blazing, a line of black Escalades curving up the drive, and music slipping past the boxwood hedges, string quartet soft, expensive. Inside, crystal chimed. People laughed like the night was theirs. Isaac paid the driver and stepped out short of the gate. He stood there, roses in hand, then took the long way around to the service entrance. He used his key, slipped into his own house like a trespasser. 3 steps in, Grace Miller, the housekeeper, froze in the dark. Her tray jumped. A flute shattered. Before Isaac could speak, she pressed her hand over his mouth. Grace's hand stayed there for only 3 seconds, but it was long enough to make the house feel foreign. Her palm smelled like lemon cleaner and polished silver. Her fingers shook. "Please, sir," she breathed. "Don't make a sound." Isaac lifted his hands, not to fight, but to show he would not move. Men like him did not get silenced. In boardrooms, they waited on his words. In every Whitmore hotel, elevators opened for him. Chairs were pulled. Deals were signed before he sat down. But in that tight service hall, with broken glass at his feet and a tray of empty champagne glasses, Isaac Whitmore kept quiet because his housekeeper looked more afraid of his heartbreak than his temper. Beyond the hall, the party rolled on, muted violins, civil laughter, the tiny click of a fork on china. Someone said Rebecca's name. Applause followed. Grace dropped her hand. Isaac glanced past her to the glowing doorway. He could see the edge of the formal dining room, the mirror shine of the floor, candlelight dancing on the walls. The place looked staged for architectural digest. He stared at the roses. One petal was creased under his thumb. "What's going on?" he asked. She shook her head once. "Not here." She knelt, swept the big shards onto the tray with her apron. Like tidying could keep the night from cracking open. Isaac noticed her wrists, slim, worn, a small burn by her thumb. Those were the hands that set coffee by his laptop at 6 a.m., straightened Lily's soccer photos on the mantel, drew curtains in rooms he never used. He had never wondered what those hands chose to save. Grace looked at the ceiling. "It's Miss Lily," she said. The name landed harder than a subpoena. Isaac crushed the roses tighter. "Is she hurt?" Grace did not answer. That terrified him more than yes. "She's upstairs," Grace finally said. "Packing." The word did not fit. Packing was for business trips, summer camps, college tours, not for his 17-year-old daughter at midnight while her mother entertained downstairs. Isaac turned for the stairs. Grace caught his sleeve. "Not like that, sir." He looked at her hand on his suit, then at her face. Tears, but no weakness. She looked like a woman who had held one truth so long it outweighed fear. "If you walk in now," she said, "Lily will think you only came because of the noise." Isaac opened his mouth, closed it. Above, the old service stairs vanished into dark. Below, the music played on, clean and unbothered, as if nothing in the house had broken yet. Grace stepped toward the stairs. "First, you need to see what she left for you." She led him up without lights. The stairs were built for staff, laundry, trays, quiet labor behind beautiful rooms. Isaac had owned the house 11 years and had never used them. At the top, Grace stopped at Lily's door. It was cracked open, a blade of yellow light on the carpet. "Please," Grace whispered. "Don't let her see you yet." Isaac peered in. Lily sat on the floor by her bed, barefoot, in a faded Akla hoodie he had given her 2 Christmases ago. 2 suitcases gaped in front of her, one half full of folded jeans, the other with books, a framed picture, and a stuffed bunny with one floppy ear. Isaac had won that bunny for her on the Santa Monica Pier when she was 7. She had taken it everywhere that summer. Pancakes, the dentist, the car. Years ago, Lily would sprint to the front door when his Mercedes came up the drive. She would slap both palms on the glass and grin before he even cut the engine. She thought his homecomings were promises. Then they got shorter. A missed dinner for a delayed flight. A choir recital watched on an iPhone. A birthday call from a Marriott lobby in Chicago while she blew out candles by an empty chair. It never felt cruel then. Each absence had an excuse. Board meeting, merger, crisis only he could fix. Isaac sent gifts, flowers, texts through assistants. He told himself Lily got it. Now, Lily pulled an old photo from her hoodie pocket. Isaac knew it instantly. Santa Monica, foggy morning. Lily on his shoulders, tiny hands over his eyes, him pretending to be lost. She was laughing with her whole face. Now she pressed that photo to her chest like she was afraid it would disappear. A sealed envelope sat on the bed. Grace touched his arm. "That's for you," she whispered. "She wrote it today." Isaac slipped inside, hidden by the closet door. He picked up the envelope with hands that never shook in mergers. "Dad, when you read this, I'll be gone. Don't look for me. Don't send anyone to drag me back. I spent years trying to be easy to love. A student. Smiled for pictures. Stayed up when you said you'd be home. Saved you seats at plays you never saw. Mom says that's how powerful men live. Maybe she's right. But I can't live in a house where people see the chandeliers and the cars and the parties, but no one sees me. I loved you so much, Dad. I wish that had been enough. Lily *. Isaac put the letter down. Lily zipped one suitcase gently, like noise was no longer hers. And Isaac realized she had not left tonight. She had been leaving him for years, one missed moment at a time. Grace touched his arm before he could move. "Not yet," she whispered. He stepped back. Grace led him down to her room behind the laundry, a small, clean space with a twin bed, a dresser, and a wooden cross on the wall. A framed photo of a young man in a work jacket sat on the nightstand. Grace did not explain it. She knelt, reached under the mattress, and pulled out a wooden box. "I should have told you sooner," she said. Isaac looked at the box. "Told me what, Grace?" She opened it. Inside, envelopes, crayon drawings, birthday cards, little wrap gifts, a silver bracelet in a faded blue pouch. "They're from Lily," Grace said. "Things she made for you. Things she tried to give you." Isaac opened a card. The paper was soft with age. On the front, a little girl had drawn a man in a suit on a stage. A smaller figure sat at a piano. Inside, crooked letters. "I saved you a seat, Dad." Isaac swallowed. "I never saw this." "I know." Grace opened another envelope. Father's Day note. Another, a drawing of them under a yellow sun. A paper tie from school. A dance recital photo with Lily at the edge, staring at an empty spot in the audience. Grace folded her hands. "Mrs. Whitmore gave them to me," she said. "She told me to throw them away." Isaac looked up. Grace chose her words carefully. "She said it was better not to bother you. That you were under pressure. That Lily needed to learn not to expect too much from a man carrying what you carry." The words sounded kind. Protective. That made them worse. Isaac remembered Rebecca at breakfast, setting down her coffee. Lily's getting sensitive again. Don't reward every mood. She needs structure. He remembered Rebecca fixing his tie before a flight. "Go. I'll handle everything here. If you stay, she'll just make you feel guilty." He had heard concern. Now, in Grace's room, those lines reshaped into something else. Grace handed him the blue pouch. Isaac opened it. The silver bracelet fell into his palm, his mother's. He had given it to Lily as a baby. Family heirloom, tiny heart charm. Rebecca had said Lily lost it at a park years ago. He believed her. He had even scolded Lily on the phone. Expensive things need care. Grace looked down. Mrs. Whitmore said Lily was careless. She told Lily you took it back because you were disappointed in her. Isaac closed his fist around the bracelet. No one spoke. Down the hall, the party hummed. Laughter, clinking, a perfect night built on a box of things that should never have been hidden. Then a woman's voice drifted down the corridor. Rebecca. Calm. Polished. Close. And with her came a man's voice Isaac knew like his own signature. Charles Barnett. Grace turned off the lamp. In the sudden dark, Isaac stood with his daughter's bracelet in his hand and understood. What was happening in his house was not neglect. It was planned. Grace did not move after the lamp went out. She stood beside Isaac, one hand on the dresser, the other near the wooden box. Rebecca's voice came closer, then faded, like silk over a blade. Charles laughed softly. "You've handled the girl well," he said. Rebecca's reply was quiet. "She needs boundaries." Isaac never understood that. He thinks guilt is the same as love. Nothing harsh. No cruelty that would shock a dinner guest. She sounded calm, practical, tired. That was why Isaac did not move. Rebecca did not sound like a woman hiding something. She sounded like a woman managing a household. Grace kept her eyes down. Charles said, "Tomorrow morning, after the signatures, she'll have no room to run." Rebecca paused. "Lillian," Charles said, then, "Lily." The silence after was small, but it changed the air. Grace lifted one finger to her lips, not because Isaac had made noise, but because she knew pain sometimes tries to escape before the truth finishes speaking. The footsteps faded. Isaac stood with the bracelet digging into his palm. Grace did not ask how he felt. She did not tell him to be strong. She just closed the box, held it to her chest. "Come," she whispered. They went back upstairs. Grace stopped at Lily's door and did something Isaac did not expect. She knocked once, softly, not like staff asking to clean, not like an adult checking on a child, but like someone keeping an old promise. "Miss Lily," she said through the door. "I left it on the table." No answer. Grace bent, set a small teacup with its saucer by the door, and placed a sugar packet beside it, aligned with the edge. Isaac watched her. "She doesn't always drink it," Grace whispered, "but she looks for it." That line stayed in him. He remembered nights he came home late and saw a cup outside Lily's room. He thought it was just good service. He never understood it was a hand reaching through a closed door. Grace stepped back with him into shadow. Inside, Lily's suitcase zipper moved, then stopped. A long silence. Then the door opened 1 inch. First came Lily's fingers, thin, pale, careful. They took the sugar packet and lingered, not taking the cup. "Good night, Miss Lily," Grace said. The door closed, but not all the way. A narrow line of light stayed on the carpet. For the first time that night, Isaac saw his daughter leave something open. For nearly a minute, Isaac stared at that light. Grace did not tell him to knock. She did not tell him to apologize. She just held the wooden box like it still had a heartbeat. Downstairs, the party felt far away. Piano note, woman's laugh, soft clink of glass. Upstairs, the air was cooler. Smelled like tea, old wood, the faint detergent Grace used on sheets. Isaac sat slowly on the hallway bench across from Lily's room. He had passed that bench for years and never sat on it once. Grace set the cup closer to the door. Lily had taken the sugar but left the tea. Small, yet Grace watched it like a nurse watching a steady pulse. "She used to take 2 sugars, Grace whispered. Then 1. Then she stopped taking the cup at all. Isaac stared at the closed door. "How long?" Grace's answer was quiet. "Too long." He nodded once, because there was no clean answer to take. Seconds later, the door opened again, not much. Lily's hand slid the sugar packet out. It was folded in half. Isaac leaned forward and picked it up. On the white paper, in pencil, "Is he there?" Isaac stopped breathing. Grace did not rush the door. She turned the envelope in her palm and looked at Isaac with the patience of someone who knows fragile things break if you celebrate too soon. "Answer her," she said. Isaac took the pencil from Grace's apron pocket. His fingers felt stiff, too big for something so small. On the back of the packet he wrote, "Yes, I'm here." Grace slid it under the door. Nothing at first. Then the floor creaked inside, not close, just a careful shift of weight. The door opened another inch. Lily's face did not appear. Her voice came, thin and low. "Mom knew you were coming." Isaac closed his eyes for half a second. "No." "Then why did you come?" Simple question. Years inside it. Isaac looked at the crushed roses by the wall. He almost said he came to surprise Rebecca. Almost gave the first true answer, but not the deepest one. Grace stood still beside him. That stillness saved him from speaking too fast. "I thought I was coming home to save my marriage," Isaac said. "But I think God let me come home to find you." Behind the door, Lily was quiet. A soft, shaky breath slipped through the crack. "I waited for you at my winter concert," she said. "I know." "You don't," Lily said. Her voice tightened but did not rise. "I wore the blue dress because you said blue made me look like Grandma." Isaac's hand opened on his knee. He remembered the dress only after she said it, a text from Rebecca. Lily on a stage, smiling wrong. "I'm sorry," he said. The words were too small. They fell between them and stayed. Grace reached into the wooden box and handed Isaac the old recital photo. He laid it flat on the carpet near the door. Then the Father's Day card. One by one, he set out the pieces Lily thought were rejected. The hallway became a silent trail of proof: a drawing, a paper tie, a birthday note, the silver bracelet. When the bracelet touched the carpet, Lily opened the door enough to show one eye, red from crying. You kept it. Grace shook her head. I kept it. Lily stared at the bracelet a long time, then reached out, picked it up, and closed her fingers around it slowly. I thought you took it from me. I never would, Isaac said. The space between them stayed heavy, but something shifted. Not forgiveness yet. Maybe not even trust. But Lily did not close the door. She sat on the carpet just inside her room, bracelet in one hand, folded sugar packet in the other. After a long time, she nudged the teacup toward her with her foot. Then she picked it up. That was all. She did not drink much. One small sip. But Isaac watched his daughter hold the warm cup with both hands, and for the first time that night, she stayed. Lily did not come down right away. She reached the top of the stairs barefoot, in the old Akla hoodie, hair tucked behind one ear, holding the silver bracelet in one hand and the teacup in the other. She did not look strong the way people say it out loud. She looked present. That was enough. The party downstairs had thinned to small clusters. Men in dark suits near the fireplace. Women with perfect hair holding champagne they were not drinking. Rebecca stood by the marble entry, talking to Charles in a voice that made every sentence sound like a decision already made. Then she saw Lily. For 1 second, her face did not change. Then her smile arrived too fast. Sweetheart, Rebecca said, turning to the guests. There you are. We were just saying you should be resting. Lily's fingers tightened on the bracelet. Isaac was 3 steps behind her, still in the upper hall shadow. Grace stood farther back, holding the wooden box. Rebecca's eyes moved from Lily's face to the teacup, then to the bracelet. That was the mistake. Not anger. Not fear. Recognition. A mother would have asked why her daughter had been crying. Rebecca looked first at the evidence. Where did you find that? She asked. Lily did not answer. The guests got quieter without knowing why. Charles stepped forward with the rehearsed concern of a man who had learned to sound responsible in expensive rooms. Isaac, he said, seeing him. Finally, you're home. What a surprise. Isaac took 1 step down. That was the idea. Rebecca gave a small laugh, soft enough to pass as relief. You should have called. Lily's had a hard night. She's been emotional. We don't need an audience for this. She reached for Lily's arm. Lily stepped back. Half a step, but in public. Rebecca's hand hung too long before she lowered it. Charles looked toward the guests. Maybe everyone should return to the dining room. No, Isaac said. The word did not echo. It just stopped the room. Rebecca's eyes narrowed, not enough for strangers to notice, but enough for Isaac to see the woman behind the hostess. Isaac, she said softly, don't do this here. He looked at Grace. Grace set the wooden box on a side table by the stairs. One by one, she laid Lily's letters, cards, drawings, and the recital photo under the lamp. No speech.
No accusation.
Just years spread across polished wood. A woman by the fireplace covered her mouth. Lily looked at the objects, then at her mother. You told me he threw them away, Lily said. Rebecca kept her posture. I was protecting you from disappointment. Isaac reached into his suit jacket. He pulled out the folded sugar packet where Lily had written, and the old Father's Day card Grace had given him. More than memories, she had given him the pattern. And this? Isaac asked. The bracelet. The one you said she lost. Rebecca looked away for less than a second. Charles cut in. This isn't the time to turn family pain into theater. Isaac turned to him. You're right. He walked past the stunned guests and into his office. Rebecca followed first. Charles, second. Lily and Grace stayed by the stairs. Inside, Isaac opened the biometric safe. He did not look at Rebecca when the lock clicked. He pulled out 3 folders and set them on the desk. Transfer agreements, a custody petition, Lily's psychological evaluations. All without his signature. All prepared before he had even come home. Rebecca's face went still. Charles exhaled through his nose. "It's corporate strategy," Charles said. "You've been absent. The board has concerns." Isaac opened the third folder and turned it toward Rebecca. "My daughter is not a corporate asset." Rebecca's voice dropped. "She needs help." "She needed her father," Isaac said, "and you made sure she couldn't reach me." No one spoke. Then Lily appeared in the office doorway. In her hand, a black notebook. "I wrote dates," she said. "Calls. Names. Things I heard." Rebecca looked at the notebook like it was a weapon. For the first time that night, her calm broke in the wrong place. "Lily, give me that." Lily pressed it to her chest. Isaac stepped between them. He took out his phone and called his attorney. His voice was low, steady. "Freeze every voting action scheduled for tomorrow. Notify outside counsel. Preserve security footage. Send someone here now." Charles moved toward the door. Samuel, the old butler, was already there. "I'm afraid the gates are locked, Mr. Barnett," Samuel said. Isaac looked at Rebecca, then Charles. No more signatures. No more doctors. No more private arrangements. He took the house keys from the silver bowl on the desk and put them in his pocket. For years, Rebecca had controlled the rooms Isaac was too busy to enter. That night, for the first time, every door answered to him. By dawn, the house no longer sounded like a mansion. It sounded like a place after people stopped pretending. The guests were gone. The music was over. But champagne glasses still sat untouched on silver trays, going dull in the grey morning light. Outside, 2 black SUVs rolled out through the iron gates. Charles Barnett was gone. Rebecca was no longer giving orders from the marble entry. No one celebrated. Isaac did not raise his voice. He did not stand in front of cameras. He did not turn his family's ruin into a public win. His lawyers handled the filings. The board meeting was halted. The falsified evaluations were sent where they belonged. The people who built power in quiet rooms were removed from those rooms, quietly. Lily slept late that morning, not in a hotel, not in a car, not hidden from her own life. She slept in her room with the door half open while Grace found the untouched suitcase by the bed. For a moment, Grace stood there. Then she folded a sweater and put it back in the drawer. She did not unpack the whole suitcase. She left it open, like Lily still had the right to decide when she was ready. That small mercy stayed with Isaac. Afternoon, Lily came downstairs barefoot, the silver bracelet loose around her wrist. Her eyes were tired, her face pale, but she walked into the kitchen instead of past it. Grace was making tea. Lily sat at the small breakfast table by the window, not the formal dining room. Isaac stood there a second, unsure if he should sit. Grace pulled out a chair first, for Lily. After Lily sat, Grace pulled out another chair and looked at Isaac. No speech. No forgiveness staged for convenience. Just a chair placed where distance used to be. Isaac Saturday. Lily wrapped both hands around the warm cup. Steam rose between them. Morning light spread across the kitchen floor. For the first time in years, no one rushed to fill the silence. And Isaac understood, quietly, that coming home was not the same as being home. It was only the first step. Life lesson. Sometimes a family does not shatter in one loud moment. It fractures in missed dinners, unanswered notes, closed doors, and the quiet belief that someone will always wait. We think betrayal wears a cruel face, but sometimes it comes with calm words, flawless manners, and reasons that sound reasonable. Isaac had money, power, and a name people respected, but none of that let him see the ache growing in the room next to his. What saved Lily was not wealth. It was someone who paid attention. Grace noticed the untouched tea, the hidden cards, the silence that changed. She did not force healing. She just kept showing up until a closed door opened a crack. Real love is not proved by grand speeches after the damage. It is proved by being present when there is nothing impressive to gain.